Hello and welcome back to the No Dig Norfolk Gardener. Now in today's programme we aim to start our peas off and to put the extension onto our pea and bean tunnel. Two peas into each cell, and when it comes to time to plant out, they're planted out at 6-inch intervals. Or what we do is that where each of these main verticals appear, that's where we plant each cell of 2 peas. They're the guides we use. We did that with the runner beans and the French beans last year and it worked really, really well. So you join us outside, and it is of course the end of February. It's a bit cooler outside, so I had to put my hoodie on just to keep a little bit warm. Now, I do like to have a bit of a laugh and a joke with people, and I know I've said many times that I've made this tunnel a bit taller in order that Mrs. W can't get as many peas. Well, I'm afraid the reality is none of this has been replaced. All we did do was, with the youngest daughter, so there's 3 of us, we lifted this tunnel off its supports, and we'd simply put larger supports or taller supports inside. So the shorter ones sort of came to there, sort of thing, and these ones now come to about here, and that's why it's made it that little bit more arch-like, and of course ultimately a bit taller. So what are you going to need? What you are going to need is some of this blue plumber's piping. This is 25mm wide. You can get it in varying widths, but I found this to be the best width that fits over the supports. And the supports these are them. Now they're called grow stakes. I have bought them off Amazon, but myself and Mrs. W were in our local garden centre over the weekend, and they had this value pack, and you get 4 of these stakes for £8, which is really good value for money. These things will last a long time, and if I just show you that this was the stake that was in or under this piping. Remember, it's got to go into the ground a good 12 inches or so. So the time's gone there, as you can see, it's only going to get to about here. But with these, it's now sort of up to here. So they do come in varying heights, but this is just a better height. They also look thicker as well. The taller these stakes get, the thicker they get, so it's going to last more. You don't need anything too substantial under this piping, because when the wind blows, and it mostly blows over the wind, there's nothing solid there, so it's not really going to go anywhere. And during the spring and summer months when you're growing things over it, well, for us anyway, we're only going to be growing peas and beans over it. They're not particularly heavy plants, so they're not going to weigh the tunnel down or make it unstable. Now you can also see that we use some cattle fencing and it was probably the most expensive thing that we had to buy for it. But again, it's an investment. We intend for this to be here for many years. If you can't quite run to that at first, then you can use the pea or bean netting to put over it. But in all honesty, it's such a faff, and when you want to take the peas off, you'll inevitably probably break the pea netting as you get those, because they'll be intertwined between the nets, and it'll start to break down, and you'll probably need to buy some more. However, it is relatively cheap, and probably only about a couple of pounds or so to buy some pea netting. So the choice is yours. We've chosen to invest in this, and I know my brother is going to be making an arch because he was really quite impressed with that. So what we have left over here, we are going to let him have to complete his arch. And of course, it goes without saying, if you want to do this on an allotment, and you can be talking to, you know, your fellow plot holders, and maybe they want to do the same thing because you both think it's a good idea, then you can share the cost of these raw materials. So you do have that option. Now, the other thing that you're going to need is to have some gloves. This can get a bit sharp when you're cutting it. If you are going to be using the cattle fencing like we are, then you're going to need to have some wire cutters. And of course, you're going to need something to be able to cut through the piping. We just used an old wood saw that we had. It's more than capable of cutting through this because it's not solid. So yeah, something you will need just to cut through this. A hacksaw would do. If you've got a hacksaw, it will quite easily cut through this blue piping. You can see with these cable ties, when they're put on, they will hold the cattle fencing to the structural supports. And the great thing is with these is that you just need to grab the pair of scissors and cut them back, just to finish it all off and make it look neat and tidy. I'll just check, because I think when we did the original tunnel I did this, came out the next morning, I thought, oh, I left some. There is the extension to the tunnel. So all we've done is to measure the blue piping, and then with the fencing, laid it out on the lawn, and then we've got the measurement of how long the fencing needs to be from the piping that we measured. And the stakes were put into the ground, piping over, and then you start to affix the cattle fencing with the cable ties. And then lastly, but not least, cut those down so that they're not sticking out everywhere. And you're good to go. This is ready to grow things. We shall see you in about 3 weeks' time, when those peas are about that tall, and they can then be planted into the ground and begin their journey over our arch. So it's quite late in the afternoon now, but we did manage to get the arch all done and finished. And it's relaxing time now, so I think it's really important to sit down sometimes and just have a look at your garden. Just see what's going on, and actually look at all the great work that we've all done over the last few months. You know, I can see from here, I can see that our garlic is all through in the outdoor beds. The shallots are through. Getting lots of purple sprouting broccoli there. Got a bit of a story to tell you regarding the cauliflowers, but that's for another video. Broad beans are well on their way. Yeah, we do have a lot to admire. So do forgive us. We like to sit down at the end of the day. We've got a chicken in the oven, so it's roast chicken this evening. We've had a wonderful harvest from our garden that you'll see on the end screen. So we're going to sit here for the next 15-20 minutes, enjoying the last of the sun's rays. And it's really nice to do that with a nice pint of beer. Mrs. W. Is that wine you've got there?
It's a wine.
Yeah, it is a wine. Yeah, of course. What else would it be?
I'll be fine.
And you'll be fine. Now, next time we see you, we shall run through our top tips for your March garden. So until then,
Cheers.
cheers!